Welcome to my Compound Life. I'm your host, Jonathan. This is a channel where we build assets, we build habits, great habits it has to be to manage all of our assets. And of course, we build freedom that should really be financial freedom, time freedom for you, me, and anyone else that watches my video and follow my channel. So if you haven't already done so, please drop a like, hit subscribe. If you're new or old, welcome. I'm Jonathan. It's always good to see you all. I'm a new content creator, by the way, very, very far from my subscriber goal. So if you guys can hit the like, hit subscribe, let me know in the comment section who you are, where you come from. It's always good to know where people come from, where you guys are watching my videos. So do that. Do so right now, just when I'm taking a sip of my tea. Okay, so in today's video, this is a Bitcoin daily video, by the way. So we're going to go through price action charts, news that moves Bitcoin price, and of course, watch towards the end for some of the viewers' community questions that we're going to go through. Right, so let's start. Let's start today with some price action. Okay, so right now, Bitcoin price right now is around 96,600. It is trading around 96,000 to 97,000 in the past 24 hours. It went up around 1 to 2%, starting from around 94,000, hitting a high near 97,900 and a low around 94,600. We are, however, still 23% away from the previous all-time high of around 126,000. That was sometime in October last year, October the 8th, I believe. And of course, Bitcoin broke out above the key 95. That's around here. So that's all good level and held it back for weeks, showing strong buying interest. And of course, things to highlight. I think we definitely saw a breakout from resistance zone. So that's all good. Price finally pushed past the 95,000 resistance, where seller was strong, very, very strong before, right? So definitely out from there. And this shows buyers are taking back control. The bull are slightly taking back control. I need to caveat, we're not fully taking back full control yet. That results in a massive rally. As you can see, I think today we kind of a little bit of red bar, so not fully taking back control. Yes, I think it could potentially lead to more upside if we manage to hold well above 95,000. Okay, so looking on daily chart, right? 50-day moving average is around 90,000. Yeah, it was like a few days ago, it was around 89, high of 89,000. So we can see a slightly, slope. It's going up, a small up. And of course, 200 days moving average, it's definitely sloping down, but I think give it another, if we continue with this momentum, I think give it another few more weeks, we might be able to see a golden cross, right? So 200 days moving average sloping down, and then 50 days moving average is sloping up. And then, of course, the Bitcoin price, if we continue to go up, slow grind up back to the 200 days moving average and sustain that for another few more weeks, then we should be able to see a golden cross. Okay, so by the time golden cross, of course, golden cross is a lagging indicator, right? But it will show whether, will we continue with the bullishness for Bitcoin. Okay, so chart-wise, short-term momentum is definitely building, right? We definitely see, see the breakout. I think will be good, if we can continue another green bar today as soon as the US market open. I do have some news specifically for ahead of the news. Hopefully we should continue to have a green bar, but there are actually news that are slightly bearish, which I'll get into when we get into the news section. Okay, so enough of this. But what I think a lot of things in our mind right now will be, okay, so we had a breakout, right? It's actually a very, very clean breakout. The price definitely did sustain a little bit, at least for yesterday. Okay, so 2 days of green candle, hoping for another green candle for more confirmation, but we'll see. Maybe it could be a reverse. But if that's the case, what are we expecting from the breakout, right? So I found this from Bull Theory on X. I think what's happening right now, so this is now the 4th time Bitcoin has gone through a long consolidation, right? So I think during this period, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of people buy, a lot of people sell, but we did saw a lot more people actually sell, like, the weaker hands sold their Bitcoin because there were a lot of expectation that immediately will get into the bear market, right? If we simply just follow the 4-year cycle. But there are still some hoping about possible business cycle, the ISM cycle, liquidity pouring in that could potentially bring Bitcoin price slightly upwards or towards a dead cat bounce, or even we could be getting back to the previous all-time high and go beyond the all-time high of 126,000, right? So there were a lot of mixed speculation. I think this explanation is quite good in a way to give us a sense of what's going on in the market and potentially what can we anticipate, right? Certainly these are all speculation. These are based on charts on what's happening to give kind of a speculation of outcome. By no means these aren't financial advice, like, go long Bitcoin 10x, 100x. No. Okay. So, coming back to this, in this cycle, those consolidation has taken around 56 to 63 days. So first consolidation took about 63 days, second one about 56, and third consolidation was 49 days, right? Now, again, Bitcoin has experienced a similar consolidation here for about 56 days. So last 3 times after the consolidation, right? So consolidation, 63 days, boom, it goes up. Consolidation, 56 days, it goes up, and then 49 days, and then it goes up. Of course, I don't mean because of consolidation, it goes up. It can certainly go downwards, right? But I think there are further elaboration of why, at least Bull Theory thinks the consolidation will probably lead on higher, right? So he's kind of looking into 2 of these, the MACD as well as the RSI. So I wouldn't go into the RSI in too much detail in today's video, but from the RSI perspective, the weekly RSI is showing hidden bullish divergence. This means trend is still bullish. All this points to one thing, Bitcoin still has few left, okay? But the other one that I might want to get into slightly more detail will be the MACD chart, right? So MACD selling pressure is clearly reducing. Momentum is slowly shifting from selling to stabilization, right? So that there's a shift. Okay, so this usually happens before a breakout. So if we quickly flip onto the MACD chart, right? So let me quickly explain, because this chart, it's usually something people don't really look into much, right? So again, this is from BitBo. I'll leave the link at the description so that you guys can check that out yourself after. So let me quickly explain what MACD is, okay, and why this chart matters for Bitcoin holders, right? So especially for us that are thinking, do I sell, do I buy, yada yada yada, right? So MACD stands for Moving Average Conversion Divergence. Okay, so in simple terms, it measures momentum, not price, but how strong the trend is. So when MACD turns green, this green bar, and rises above 0, it tells us momentum is shifting bullish. So obviously right now, we're not shifting bullish yet. We are still, in the red bars. Okay, when it goes deeply red like this, right? Like this. Right, so this deep red is, sometime after the 10th of October, huge liquidation event, right? And then eventually it leads on to people, the weaker hand starts to sell off because they, everyone thinking this is the capitulation for Bitcoin, this is the capitulation for Bitcoin. So that's why, plenty of weaker hands sold immediately during that time, right? So when it goes deeply red, it essentially showing momentum is weak or resetting, right? Selling weak, momentum is extremely weak, and things are resetting. So historically, when Bitcoin's MACD reset deeply negative and start turning up, it has often marked the early phase of major uptrends. Okay, and of course it doesn't mark the top. Okay, so what's important right now, looking at this chart, is we've had multiple red MACD reset, right? So these are kind of like the multiple massive reset, right? Without and of course, previously the MACD reset will lead to price collapsing, right? Like this, price collapsing, like this, price collapsing. But so far, MACD showing here is yes, we have deep red MACD bars. Okay, momentum completely washed out. Deep bars, momentum deeply washed out, heaps of panic selling, huge liquidation event over and over again, a lot of forced selling. Okay, also, there are a lot of market manipulations out there that causes liquidation and so forth. But overall, it does seem traders exiting due to fear or leverage. Okay. However, although there has been heaps of red MACD bars, however, the price action still remain pretty high. Okay, of course, we have suffer from quite a steep drop, but that was only 30%, right? It wasn't 50% drop, right? But some might argue hasn't been a huge drop because institutions are stepping in to buy. So in a way, they are also maintaining the price to be higher up, right? So that's where, this whole thing has been shifted a little bit. Like maybe a lot of sell-off were coming from retail. However, the institutions, the ETF are still strong at continuing the buying to continue to sustain the price for Bitcoin. So what this really indicates is no return to previous cycle low, higher lows over the period of time, and price staying historically elevated. So that's all good, right? And look closely at what happens after each deep spike, right? So deep spike, red bars are getting smaller, right? Getting smaller, okay? Eventually, hopefully, it will be flipping green pretty soon, right? This happens before price makes major move, right? So what this all means, is essentially there's a sign of structural strength that's forming. So in layman term, what is it? What the hell does a structural strength mean? So for Bitcoin holder, this usually means one thing: weak hands are shaken out, right? So that could be someone who bought Bitcoin at $110, someone who bought at $126 because of the steep fall of Bitcoin towards 90K. So weak hands sold. And of course, with the red bar that are shrinking over a period of time, essentially it means one thing: momentum quietly rebuilds, because stronger hand that have much more conviction on Bitcoin, they are constantly buying. And every time when there has been some weak hands that get shaken out, the Bitcoin price dip, and institution continue to come in and reaccumulate. The retails that do, the retails through BlackRock, they'll see that Bitcoin, it's at a much fairer price. That's when I want to come back in. And of course, it also means upside trends to come later, not immediately. Okay, so it doesn't mean we have definitely flipped bullish and then immediately price shoots up parabolically, right? So it doesn't mean that. So summary, looking at the MACD chart, the deep red MACD shows weak hands exiting, and there are less weak hands exiting right now. And the shrinking bar afterwards show momentum are rebuilding, and all while price continue to hold pretty strong. So this is why long-term Bitcoin holders like myself and you guys too, right? We pay attention and watch MACD chart, not to trade candles like, oh, it's going up, let's FOMO in. But to understand where we are in the cycle, right? So it does seem the cycle may still have some fuel, and potentially we may be able to have a better dead cat bounce first, right? Let the cat bounce, guys, right? And afterwards, if it can become alive again, we somehow revive the cat and let it go, let it go to the moon, not to heaven, hopefully. Okay, so my honest read, with the chart, with how things are going, with things consolidated through 50 plus days, and then MACD, I think breaks out looks pretty real this time. Hopefully, let's wait another 1 day or so, well, at least another 2 days for clear confirmation. But watch out for pullbacks, as not all breakouts sticks right away. Okay, so this is a good spot to watch the price closely. Price is showing strengths, but let's see if we can keep going higher, right? Bounce higher, please, dead cat. Please bounce a lot more higher, okay? So let's move on to fear and greed index. Right now, we are in the greed zone. So that's good, right? We have been in the fear zone, and then today we are hitting around 62. Yesterday we were at neutral at 47. This really showcased how quickly things bounce when it comes to Bitcoin. And a lot of time people say, did someone just decided to buy Bitcoin all of a sudden, right? I think the answer is no. It's a lot of it's to do with liquidation, right? So I think if you look through the liquidation heat map right now, yesterday alone, Bitcoin jumped 2,100 in a short 60 minutes of time, right? And that's an incredible move, like $2,100 in short 60 minutes, right? Let me know what other assets can do that kind of price jump, right? And of course, yesterday it broke about $97,000 for Bitcoin after the US opening. And of course, that led to $123 million in shorts being liquidated. Okay. And a lot of this price action, a lot of this parabolic movement. Okay, yesterday wasn't a parabolic movement, but somehow a huge candle bar movement. There were essentially because of all of this liquidation, right? So Bitcoin price move up, it's liquidating of the longs, liquidating the shorts. If Bitcoin price goes down, it's liquidating of the long, right? So as you can see from the chart, right now, heaps of shorts that are still open, right? And imagine if Bitcoin price starts to shoot up again, all of these shorts will be liquidated, right? So I think there will be some liquidation hunt coming very, very soon, right? Not too much long piling up anymore, right? But in terms of shorts, there are still a lot of contracts that are open for shorts, right? Imagine if Bitcoin starts to go up to about 98, as soon as Bitcoin price gets up to about 98, 100, right? There will be a lot of liquidation. Look at this. 66 million, close to 98,000, about 20 million, 82 million. So you don't want to be, guys, you don't want to be on leverage. Imagine, you'll be like fingernails biting right now, thinking what the hell's going to, happen to my liquidation short. So be careful, guys. Be careful, guys. As long, in my compound life, you don't need to have leverage trading. You can still make a good living. You can still retire early, like myself, right? And continue with your journey. Like my journey is to create more video and to let you guys know to buy assets early in life so that eventually you can move on to do something else. And in my case, I'm working on my YouTube, my passion project for many, many years that I never quite, set my mind into doing. And now I'm doing it, right? And please drop the like, hit subscribe, and let me know who you are, right? Let me know where you're watching from. It's always good to hear from the community. It's always great to hear from you as part of the community too, okay? I think that's it. That's it. Enough charts for today. And let's move on to news section that are moving the Bitcoin price. Okay, so news section, I don't have too many news to cover. Macro event. I think macro event, not too much. Apart from softer US inflation data that came in, I think it's also indicating possible rate cut, more likely. But of course, tension with Iran also makes some people want to get onto safer asset like Bitcoin. So at announcement around yesterday, I think Bitcoin definitely did pump a little bit. So I think from that, short term, it's all bullish for Bitcoin. The pump definitely shows some demand, but also to highlight the pump, it's not all coming from spot investing for Bitcoin, right? It does seem it was all down to liquidation. Okay, so that's why I haven't fully flipped bullish yet, Yeah, I haven't fully flipped bullish yet. Oh, I think we've forgotten to cover the ETF. Let's quickly look through the ETF because it's quite important for us to get an understanding of what's happening in the TradFi of retail, right? So in terms of ETF, yesterday, 14th of Jan, it was bullish at $840 million worth of inflow. A huge, massive buy from BlackRock IBIT, 648 million inflow, followed by Fidelity, followed by Bitwise. So as a result, yesterday's inflow gave Bitcoin a very, very huge boost, right? So a total of $1.71 billion so far worth of inflow. That's like half the week for, Monday to Wednesday data. But I also need to highlight, I think there could be some news that can lead on to further selling for today and tomorrow. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But so far, this has been like, how many weeks of bearishness going on. And yesterday, it somehow flipped slightly bullish. So that's all good. In terms of Ethereum, 14th of January, yesterday, it was also positive with $175 million worth of inflow, largely coming from BlackRock and Fidelity. So BlackRock itself bought well over $81 million worth of Bitcoin. So as a result, on a weekly basis, weekly chart, it's tremendously great for Ethereum. So it's all bullish so far, 310 million so far for this week, as opposed to last week. It was negative 68 million worth of outflow. Okay, so I think for Ethereum, similar story, but not as bullish as Bitcoin. Certainly, Bitcoin needs to get to certain level of bullishness, and then eventually Ethereum and any altcoins will pick up speed again. But so far, it's all good. And of course, we look through Solana. Yesterday, it was a pretty big inflow of 23.6 million, largely coming from Bitwise. Okay, and for Solana, over weekly chart, I think very good weekly. Total of 40 million USD worth of inflow, right? So I'll quickly take a look at monthly chart for Bitcoin. Monthly, I think potentially the rate we're going, maybe we'll get back to October, September type of buying. We'll see how it goes. I think as long as the liquidity coming in, then we are all okay, right? Okay, so a lot of action from an ETF yesterday that seemed rather bullish. Let's continue to hope that this bullishness momentum continues, right? And of course, I think other news to cover. This one. Okay, this can essentially bring down the price of Bitcoin. Okay, so you guys may need to pay some attention to this. So Senate delays Crypto Clarity Act after Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong's objection. Okay. So what's happening here? The Bipartisan Digital Asset Market Clarity Act aims to split crypto oversight between SEC securities like tokens and the CFTC for commodities, while adding investor protection and anti-fraud tools. So Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, criticized provisions on tokenized equities, DeFi privacy, CFTC authority, and stablecoins rewards, preferring no bill to the current version. Okay, so Of course, I think Brian Armstrong gave his feedback after reviewing the Senate banking draft text over the last 48 hours. Coinbase unfortunately can't support the bill as written. There are too many issues, including a de facto ban on tokenized equities. Okay, DeFi prohibitions giving the government unlimited access to your financial records and removing your right to privacy. I guess this is why. So I'm sure there are some insiders that know these kind of things that are coming. So that's why privacy coins, Monero, etc., are like pumping like no tomorrow. Okay, anyway, I think Monero probably in red today. It's still increasing. Monero 1.6% up. Interesting. Anyway, I think a lot of people are afraid of this, especially bigger whales. You're out there. Okay. And of course, erosions of CFTC's authority, stifling innovation and making it subservient to the SEC, and draft amendment that would kill rewards on stablecoin. That's not good, right? When we cash out on Bitcoin or your crypto, you want it to be on stablecoin, and you still want to be continuously be rewarded through staking or through whatever, right? So if any of such rewards were banned, that's not good. Allowing banks to ban their competition, so that's not good. It's trying to keep everything still in the TradFi. I think we are all going through some sort of a digital transformation, some sort of a shift in terms of how things should be running in the future. So in this transition process, yes, it's very painful, right? However, you just need to be holding the right asset like Bitcoin to kind of ease some of that pain away, right? So that's why continue your journey with Bitcoin and less on crypto, because you know what? At any point of time, any of such can essentially just kill one coin, right? Even if you're thinking to get into privacy coin, you still might be at risk, right? So always be stacking Bitcoin. Okay, remember that. Okay, so we appreciate all the hard work by members of the Senate to reach a bipartisan outcome, but this version would be materially worse than the current status quo. We rather have no bill than a bad bill. Indeed, very bad. Hopefully, we can all get to a better draft. Okay, so a lot of Bitcoin price movement was because driven by this Clarity Act, right? The anticipation of Clarity Act. But somehow I think this will be deferred. Perhaps wouldn't affect the price movement too much because, it's not set in stone that it's going to be a crappy kind of bill, right? There's still rooms for negotiation, but it definitely will delay. So I kind of anticipate money will continue to sit on the sideline as opposed to aping into Bitcoin or crypto anytime soon. So we'll see how that goes. And of course, Trump, a lot of Trump news. Trump. Every day is Trump. Supreme Court delays ruling on Trump tariffs again. So court didn't rule on if Trump's big tariffs are legal or not legal. So if it's deemed legal, essentially could mean $133 billion refund if that gets struck down. So it does seem the market are happy with the delay, right? It seems that maybe the market simply wants it to be struck down, right? Anyway, delayed for another 2 days, I believe. It will again be revisited sometime on the 16th, which is the tomorrow. So we shall see. At the delay news, BTC held steady, but markets, of course, everyone's nervous. I somehow think either ways, right, there will be some good and bad news, right? So if it gets struck down, U.S. government will have to pay back the tariffs. I think it sums out to 133 billion. In the short term, it will be bad in the short term, right? They're going to have to find ways for, to fund this money, right? And very likely, in terms of the market, though, everyone will just go crazy, be like, government doesn't have money, yada, yada, yada. But in the long run, right, the government will have to print out more money through quantitative easing to cover their assets on all of these debts, right? So in the long run, I think it would still be good. If as long as you hold asset, right? So that's why I always say, it's come to a time, this is a whole currency debasement trade that you need to be aware of. So this is why you constantly and need to have some sort of asset that will appreciate in prices aggressively, right? And Bitcoin somehow plays that role so well, right? And this is why we constantly will have to have a hodl bag for Bitcoin, and where we hodl Bitcoin forever and ever, right? And of course, I think the other way of looking at this will probably be, okay, if it doesn't get struck down, okay, that means there will be some sort of a stimulus coming from the tariffs check, right? Probably that's a good thing, right? Because looking at the COVID period when people get tariffs, not tariffs injection, but stimulus injection. But either way, I actually hope it will actually goes through, for Supreme Court to strike it down and make it illegal, that Trump doesn't, apply tariffs, crazily anymore, because essentially it's causing all of this crazy inflation, right? It's, it's affecting the money movement, affecting liquidity. So I think anyhow, tariffs is just a terrible thing. And let's hope for the best for the US. Okay, so another news. I think we are seeing US Treasury injecting $2 billion into the market. So a lot of quiet, silent, quantitative easing going on, which is good, especially for more money in the system, eases lending, supports prices, and of course, it will be bullish for Bitcoin holders, us, for the short term as well as long term, right? Because, money flooding in, essentially asset price will appreciate, right? So that's why when you go about in picking your asset, this is why, at least for me, I'm picking some of the top performing one, as well as Bitcoin. There will always be other asset that will outperform Bitcoin in the short term. Okay, remember that. Okay, but one thing that you guys all need to also remember will be all of the asset, when they kind of pair against Bitcoin will always win, right? All of the asset will go to zero if we compare that to Bitcoin, right? So what you might want to do, if you hold crypto and Bitcoin only, what you might want to do is, you buy in on certain crypto that potentially give you higher and faster uplift, and then you don't want to hold that forever, guys. right? Because if we are getting another dead cat bounce, this would be a good time. Your crypto, even your equity, if we're going through a business cycle, midterm for US election, a lot of your asset will appreciate in price in the short term. And what you might want to do is to sell them off and then be prepared to re-enter back into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin itself is the strongest asset out there compared to gold, right? So you want to keep Bitcoin forever and ever for a longer period of time. Okay, so other interesting news section, hopium news. If I know everyone loves hopium, I love some hopium too. So this should be a good FOMO for all of us into Bitcoin. So this specific one says institution buy 6x newly minted Bitcoin. So institution investors have purchased approximately 6x the newly minted Bitcoin supply in 2026, around 30,000 Bitcoin, not 30,000 US dollars, 30,000 Bitcoin bought versus 5,700 Bitcoin that gets mined in 2026. Okay, so let's zoom in. I think it's such a great chart, right? So I think there has been a lot more institutional buying when only a recent few years, Bitcoin get into the traditional finance. So not just you and me buying anymore through exchanges or through OTC, over-the-counter kind of buying Bitcoin. We are now competing, guys, with the big institutions, right? And the institutions' demand are unimaginable, right? And you guys need to know this. You guys need to know this. Tell your friends and families, because Bitcoin isn't a Ponzi. It never has been, right? Because I was literally just going to say Bitcoin isn't a Ponzi anymore, right? So it never has been a Ponzi. It's showcasing that Bitcoin are, maturing in a way that it's not ordinary people, retail investor like us investing anymore. Now the big boys, the wealthy, are coming in, and there are and will be more limited Bitcoin to supply for all of them, right? So this is why I create another stream of Bitcoin to try and encourage all of us, apart from you having to invest in more properties, invest in more stocks and shares, your Mag 7, yada, yada, yada. It's also important that you all and me, we all need to start to stack more Bitcoin, because the supply shock is coming, right? And the next halving event will be how many days later? Let me see. The next halving event, about 816 days later, right? So the next halving event, look at how much Bitcoin were generated. So the new supply for 2024, 217,000 Bitcoin were minted. And the institutions' demand gobble up about 900,000 plus worth of Bitcoin. 2025, how many Bitcoin were generated? 165,000 Bitcoin were being minted. And institution gobbled up 700,000 plus worth of Bitcoin. Wow. And so far, 2026, 5,747 Bitcoin were minted from the miner, and already 30,000 worth of Bitcoin were gobbled up by institutional demand. Okay, so this is why Bitcoin is getting more scarce. This is why I always communicate the fact that, guys, you need to have a hodl bag as well as a swing bag. Some lucky enough, fortunate enough that they don't need a swing bag, because they've got plenty of fresh cash coming in that they can just continuously add on to their hodl bag, right? So some people that are fortunate enough, They don't need to buy low and sell high. They can just hodl Bitcoin forever. Good for you guys, right? But for many of us, right, if you have your hodl bag and a swing bag, for the swing bag, you buy low, sell high, you try to pay off some of your lifestyle, and then whatever left over, continue to topple up your hodl bag, right? Our hodl bag are also diminishing because Bitcoin price is getting a lot more higher, and there will be less and less opportunity for us to buy Bitcoin in the future. Okay, so bear that in mind, guys. Bear that in mind. Okay, that's it, guys. Overall, for the past 24 hours, I think Bitcoin's up movement. We're very, very excited. I'm excited too, right? I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the comment section. Let me know, are you excited? Do you see this as a decade bounce? Do you see Bitcoin going higher, right? And of course, I think huge ETF buy of 840 million for Bitcoin. That's a very, very positive day. So we'll see. We'll see whether the clarity bill will drag everything down today. We'll see. Tariffs delay. We'll see whether that drags things down. But overall, I think all good. Looking January, I think pretty good, right? The demand's definitely still there, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so let's move on to community questions. All right. So smaller face. Let's put it here. Community questions. Past 24 hours. Thanks for the shout out. Thank you, Hodl BTC. It's always good to hear from all viewers. So if you're new, if you're old, please constantly drop me a message, because it gets rather boring me chatting all the time, right? Okay, Van Vin, I think another loyal viewer. Jonathan, I appreciate your daily content. Thank you. Thanks so much, Van Vin. By the way, that bubble seems to come out. If I do that, that never happened before. Okay, but never mind. So Van Vin, thanks for... okay, coming back to your comment. Jonathan, I appreciate your daily content. I was debating on whether to take profits from my Bitcoin this bull cycle, and your information helped me make my decision to hold longer term. I appreciate you. Thank you for Van Vin. If I pronounce your name incorrectly, do let me know. I actually went to Google Translate and type in your name to make sure that I pronounce it correctly. Of course, everything that I said are not financial advice, but somehow I still felt holding Bitcoin for a longer period of time, it's a sound advice. But anyway, do your own research. So this is why I always said, I'm not sure whether you got your hodl back as well as your swing back, as long as financially you can keep up, right? You never need to sell your Bitcoin, right? Keep it for a much more longer period of time and let that compound, right? That's the most... I think after I've gone through... This is my third Bitcoin cycle. After I've gone through the first and second, I was like, you know what? We don't need to do much. We just buy Bitcoin, take up even more opportunity, buy Bitcoin at the low during the bear market. It does seem we might go through a bear market pretty soon, right? Buy low and then sell high. That will be the strategy, right? So for some, like my case, I have a hodl bag and I've got a swing bag, and every now and then I might need to offload my swing bag so that I can pay off my lifestyle expenses and at the same time be on cash so that I can get back into accumulating more Bitcoin during the bear cycle. Okay, so all up to you guys on how you guys want to manage your Bitcoin. If you don't have to sell, great, no need to sell. I think continue to hodl. I think you will find it beneficial. And there's so much government debt nowadays, right? And this essentially is one of the best assets you want to be in right now. Another user that left a message, Llama News Creature. Hey, good to see you. DCA is the way to go. Absolutely. Keep on DCAing. I think that's the best strategy that anyone can do. If you don't like looking at chart, if you don't like keeping up with the news, if you got spare cash, right? Even £10, $10 a day, that's good. Keep doing it. Keep doing it, guys. That's the way forward with Bitcoin. Okay, another viewer in the community, Hit Shriek SG. Apology if I pronounce it incorrectly. Hey, Jonathan, loving the content. My name is Chris from Virginia. Hey, Chris. I should have read that earlier, right? Chris. Hi, Chris, right? From Virginia, been into the crypto market since 2020. Not a newbie, definitely been through the cycle and really started getting serious end of 2023. My opinion is the entire crypto market will grow long term and will continue to hold all my bags for the next 10 to 20 years. Okay. Fantastic. So much conviction going through when I just simply read this comment. So well done, Chris. I think that's the right thing to do. But mind you, right? This is my opinion, right? I've been through similar stage too, right? And I during that time, I kind of thought Bitcoin and crypto will be the future. And so that's why I've been hodling even cryptos and the shit coins for a much more longer period of time, right? Not financial advice, not asking you to sell, but I would always suggest build a bigger Bitcoin bag, right? Because during the volatile period when when Bitcoin goes to a bear market, of course, Bitcoin may drop 50, 60%, right? Maybe not this time round, because there are so much more institutionals buying for Bitcoin. But trust me, crypto will fall so much that if you cannot stomach that volatility, you get really hurt by this. Okay, so please bear that in mind. Please continue to build up your Bitcoin bag. The only things that you really need to show a lot of conviction is just Bitcoin, right? You constantly find ways to, maybe you love to diversify your investment and dabble into buying crypto, but always, whenever you make some money on crypto, maybe you 2x, 3x, 10x some of your crypto, as well as meme coin, remember to sell, take profits, and shift them into Bitcoin or put them into a stable coin so that you can get yield from them and then re-enter into Bitcoin. When the market is going through, the bearish period. Okay, so bear that in mind. Show more conviction on Bitcoin for sure. Okay, not financial advice, of course. I'm just letting you what I've experienced and gone through. And hopefully, none of you guys have to go through the similar pain holding crypto that drops 90% and then further drops by another 90%. Guys, these are period that, I don't want anyone to go through. Okay. 2 hours ago, crypto covered 4729. Thanks for leaving the comment. Bitcoin will crash this year hard. We move up for the next couple of months or so. So I think what he's saying, yes, there could be a decade bounce. And then towards end of year, will crash. hard. Okay, I kind of sense this too. So the saying of an elongated Bitcoin cycle, maybe, we might see a dead cat bounce. I still kind of goes through the concept of 4-year cycle. Certainly, I'm not being bearish. I do hope Bitcoin will go up further so that I can get rid of my swing back. But you're right. That is, yeah, it will go up, then, it will start crashing down. I'm kind of thinking similar time frame too. So thanks for leaving us a comment. Crypto covered 4729. We need people like you to constantly, sandbag stuff whenever there's so much hype going on in the market, and constantly when there's hype going on, we constantly need to remind ourselves, don't be too greedy. Look at the fear and greed index, right? Don't be too greedy, and remember to take profit when things are going up. Okay. Another viewer, Lee McCarroll, 1986. We need Bitcoin ATM machine. Yes, we do. We certainly do. But there are a lot of ways to off-ramp Bitcoin now. Even in the UK, I think a lot of exchanges, a lot of reputable kind of exchange, they can take your Bitcoin, your stable coin, and then you can spend them through credit cards nowadays. I'm thinking that's what you mean, right? Let me know if I'm got your questions incorrectly. We need Bitcoin ATM machines. Absolutely, we do. Macker89. Friend of the channel. Congrats on 100 subs. Not only that, shooting over 120. I think we're well over that now. Thanks, Jonathan, for this update and looking out for the community. So this is a video that we recently created for Ledger Leak about, be careful with what's going on because there has been some data breach that happened. So if you haven't watched that video, go check that out. I think that's it. That's it for today, guys. It's good to have you all on, and hit the like, hit subscribe. Let me know who you are in the comment section, where you guys come from. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Bye.